Hello, my friends. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. This is Jennifer. Hello, friends. Welcome back to my sewing room. For my old friends, I'm so glad you're here. For my new friends, I am Jennifer. This is my weekly show and tell. I talk about whatever I'm working on that is crafty or arty or sewing or quilting or whatever. This is a safe space for me, and I hope it'll be a safe space for you too. Usually my first video of the year is just me talking about all the stuff I want to do in the year. And I am going to do that, but it's going to be with a little bit of a twist. The reason I am standing on a stool in my sewing room was so I can show you my project wall. This is where I put my ideas and I keep track of where I am in the process. And this is set up for quilting, but I also use it for all the other projects I work on as well. So I have pending projects and ideas, in progress, piece top, to be quilted, bind and label, and the one with all the post-it notes on it is finished. That is all my finished stuff. Most of it, I don't write everything down, but most of it from 2025. The big things I wanted to finish last year that I did finish were the bookcase quilt for my husband, sashiko quilt, the What We Do in the Shadows quilt. I finished the Talk to Me Tuesday quilt along quilt, which we were still in the middle of the quilt along in January last year. We finished in April, and I did finish that quilt. I also made projects from my grandmother's patterns. I made the chicken that you guys probably saw last year, the hen, the big stuffed hen. And so I did do some of the things that I really wanted to do last year. Plus I did some things that I didn't anticipate. Like I rearranged my sewing room and I started making clothing from scratch, which I had done 20 years ago, but I hadn't really done it since I got into quilting. If you've been around a while, you know that I spent many years volunteering, and it's only been the last couple years that I haven't done that. And I have really had to struggle to figure out, once I stopped saying yes to literally everything that everyone else wanted in my life, who am I? What do I want? So that has been a real struggle for me, and I feel like I'm finally starting to find that. Once I really stopped being a people pleaser, my whole perspective of the world shifted and I started taking better care of myself. So if saying no is a problem you have, it's hard at first, but it's addictive. I want to continue that momentum. I want to continue figuring out what I want to do and cultivating my own creativity. I do still have a few quilts on my project list that are in progress. My signature quilt didn't move last year. I didn't touch it. It never came out of the drawer. And then I have a couple of tops that still need to be quilted, but that's it. My UFO list has really depleted. And that is one of the things that I was able to do while I was struggling to figure out what to do, is I just focused on things I had already started. So I've really narrowed those down to the point where I am now starting to just work on things I want to. So I hope that you have the opportunity to do that this year. I know not everyone has that choice. But if you do, I hope you at least take some time to work on some things that make you happy. So this year I'm going to try some things that are different. This has been really good for my personal creativity, kind of going outside of the things I normally do. One of those things is really a throwback to when I was a young woman before I had kids. I used to love to do my nails. I did them all the time, and I stopped doing that when I had kids, and then I always did my own nails. I never went to someone else for that. It was always just part of my creative process was to do my nails. So I started doing that in December, and I am really enjoying it. These are simple, but I did do a little bit of nail art. My nails are very thin and they break and they crack and they are not in fantastic shapes. These are fake. They bought them at the grocery store and then I painted them myself. So I have enjoyed that so much, way more than I anticipated. It was sort of a whim, and I've watched a bunch of tutorials on YouTube now, and there are some fantastic nail artists out there. I don't see myself doing crazy long nails or really chunky additions or anything like that. These are almost like having a little turtle shell for my poor thin fingernails. I did notice when I changed them that they are growing out so much healthier than they were before. So that's the first one on my list, is nail art. I want to learn a little bit more on that. I want to practice that a little bit more. It's just art in miniature. The next one is kind of out there. If you have found me because of my Raggedy Rescues, these are the guys that I did a couple years ago. And last year I did some Good Omens themed ones. So if you're here because of Raggedy Rescue, I'm glad you stayed, because not everyone does. Not everyone stops to go see the show and tell. I don't have any Raggedy Rescues planned at the moment, but I do have a doll restoration planned, I hope. I came across a doll that I had had as a child that was, the very short version was thrown away, and I did not want it thrown away. I've been looking for this doll for years. I don't tend to scour eBay for this kind of thing, because it's more like a treasure hunt for me. So I came across it in the antique mall. So it was never much of a Barbie girl, but I loved Charlie's Angels. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and this Farrah Fawcett doll, not this exact doll, but a doll like this was one of my favorite things that I had. And I was so sad when I didn't have her anymore. And I've kind of been on the lookout for her for all of these years. She looks a little rough. I didn't pay very much for her at all. She was marked way down, and she came with the doll stand. So she is on my list for a makeover. So this is going to be totally new for me. I've never made over a fashion doll before. That'll mean cleaning her up, making her hair nice again, adding some fake lashes because she's lost some lashes, and just making her look fabulous again. The next one on the list I've already started, which is me-made garments. I want to do more garments from scratch. I made a top this month already, which I will show you guys soon. I'm working on more shirts for my husband. He's very tall, and having shirts that fit him, especially nice button-down shirts, it makes him so happy, and it makes me happy that he is so happy. So I'm going to make him enough to replace all of the button-down shirts that he has that are too short. I will definitely be talking about that more soon. The next few are not so much projects as just life goals. Number one, sew with friends. I would love to have a retreat with my best friend this year. Jules also does Talk to Me Tuesday. You can find her on YouTube at NM, as in New Mexico, NM Jules with 2 L's. I will put a link to her channel in the description. I would love to have a retreat with her so we can sew together. I have a local friend that I meet every week that sometimes we do crafts, sometimes we don't, but we haven't actually done any sewing together in a long, long time. And we've talked about it, and we're planning to do it this year. The next one is a vibe. Sewing Room Zen. So I love this space in theory. This is my creative space. It's my safe space. Last year in August, I rearranged this room so that I could add my quilt frame. I've had a Gracie King, which is the old school wooden one. You can't even buy these anymore. I've had it for 10 years this year. It was in my garage for almost 10 years, and I pulled it out so my husband could have the garage. His need was greater than mine, and it was high time that he have a turn having his hobby stuff in there. And there's a whole backstory to that, but we're just going to leave that there because I don't need this to be a 30-minute video. So anyway, I brought it in here, and I don't like where it is. I've really struggled to access my embroidery machine. It's hard to get to my serger. I have a little map that's a graph paper, and I have all of my furnitures and things where I can move them around and whatnot. And I am going to rearrange the space because the way that I organized it in August is not working for me. I get frustrated a lot, and I've just decided it is time to rearrange it. It will not be a massive rearrange like last time. This wall will mostly be the same. This shelf will move, and I will be putting a small table here that I can have my serger on, and basically a number of things are just gonna turn this way. So right now on this side is my ironing station and my dresser that has all my fabric in it, and directly in front of me is the frame. So the frame is gonna go left. The dresser is going to go in front of me. The ironing station will be going to this side of the room, which is where it was for like 10 years. So I'll be moving that back to where it used to be. And I will be able to shift my embroidery machine. So I will have better access to all of my machines, which is the primary goal, because that has been very frustrating for me. I found that I didn't even want to use my embroidery machine because it was harder to access. So I have it, I love it, and I want to be able to use it, so everything's got to move. Last one is a personal goal, which is slow down, be human. I spent almost all of my adult life being in a hurry and trying to help as many people as I could and do as much as I could for anyone who needed it, really. Volunteering in a variety of different capacities. And I always had a side gig where I was selling things or, a part-time job or whatever. I always had something going on. I am mostly retired now. I still run phantomandstitches.com. I still have my own website. But aside from that, I just want to slow down. I want everything, every moment to matter. And I want to sit less in front of gadgets, phones, tablets, TVs, whatever, and I want to spend more time being creative. That's the main thing. I just want to spend more time connected to my own brain. I hope if any of those things resonate with you, that maybe that's a thing you will try this year. I would love to know, what are your goals for 2026? Leave me a comment. Let me know what creative thing you're working on. Let me know what personal thing you're working on. I would love to know. That's it. Happy New Year's. Have a wonderful week. Have a crafty week. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.